Hey guys, my name is Gloria and welcome back to my channel. So today I want to just kind of do a discussion video about books and reviewing books and receiving arcs and stuff. People have probably talked about all these things before, but they've just been kind of rattling around in my brain for like months, probably a year, and I just kind of wanted to get other people's opinions of them and to make sure that I'm not making any mistakes or overstepping any marks or anything, and just kind of discuss some stuff that's come up recently. So I have made some notes and whatnot. So this was sort of prompted. I wanted to do a video about this, like about part of this, like ages ago, but then something recently sort of came up. I just saw a thing on Twitter. It wasn't a huge deal or anything, but I was kind of like, it's sort of related to what I was already thinking of. And I'm not going to name anyone's names of anyone who's said anything or any writers or any reviewers or anything like that. I just kind of want to gauge the feeling of these types of things. So I'm just going to be giving my opinions on me personally and how I feel about reviews and reviewing books and arcs and all this kind of stuff. I'm not saying that anyone else is doing it wrong if they're doing different to me. I don't want to argue with anyone or make anyone feel bad, but I just kind of want to discuss, I suppose. So first of all, I review books. I get books sent to me either in ebook form or physical form from my blog. I'm not published yet, but I do want to be a published writer, and I will hopefully, when I get stuff published, a book, I will be sending it out to reviewers and I'll be asking them to review it on their blogs and their booktube channels and whatnot. So I do sort of put myself in both ends of it. So it's like I do kind of see from a writer's perspective as well. I feel very lucky that I get asked to review a lot of books. I set up my blog in the first place in 2018 so that I could branch out into all kinds of horror fiction and thrillers and darker fiction, and I definitely have done that. People have asked me to review books that I wouldn't naturally just pick up anyway. I think I've only said no to reviewing like 2 books. One of them wasn't dark fiction, I think it was just a comedy book, and the other one was about a piss fairy, like a tooth fairy, but with piss, and something about a serial killer. Anyway, I read the description for that and figured I probably wasn't going to like that one. I thought it was safe to not step outside my boundaries for that one. But I get quite a few requests now, especially. I currently have about 6 or 8 maybe books that I have to get through to read. A lot of the books that I read in the year, I mean most of the books, over 50%, would be reviews that people have asked me to review. My process for reviewing is someone emails, they contact through my blog. That's my preferred way of keeping everything in one place. They'll say, hey, this is what my book's about, would you like to review it? And I'll be like, yeah, sure, send me the book in whatever format, the cover and anything you want me to include specifically in it. I don't give an exact date of when I'm gonna have it read, because I just kind of do this when I'm able to do it, when I feel like doing it. I do it for free, obviously. I have a full-time job. I have all these other creative pursuits that I want to do for myself, my own writing, my own books that I want to read, and I never give anyone a specific time, but I do generally say it'll be a couple of weeks, because I'm voraciously reading at the minute, so like all year, so it won't take that long, which for most people is fine. If anyone has a specific date they want to review by, if they want it by the actual release date or whatever, I can normally do that, because I don't get asked to do that a lot, so I will just I'll read that at that time and then go back to my list. I tend to do everything like chronologically. So yeah, I do it for the love of reading, for the love of getting more eyes on books. I appreciate every publisher or agent or writer who contacts me. I especially appreciate anyone who sends me a physical book. That's not a requirement that I have. Some people only want to get physical books. I'll read it in whatever format you have because it doesn't really matter to me. And because I know it's really expensive. A lot of the people who contact me are from like Canada and America, and it's really expensive to send physical books to Ireland, so like that's fine. I really appreciate anyone sending me any books. I've never had like a seriously a bad experience with a writer or anything. I've never had anyone getting angry at me or sending me any kind of abuse or anything like that. I've never had a bad experience, but I know that other reviewers have, where they've been sort of attacked or argued with, or people have just been angry at them or whatever. That's not personally happened to me so far anyway. So part of what I wanted to talk about today is just I did see someone on Twitter who I think reviews books but also writes them. They sort of went on a rant. They were venting that they seemed very annoyed that they'd sent maybe they weren't speaking specifically about themselves, but they seemed annoyed in general at reviewers who don't immediately review the copies that they get sent, the ARCs or the whatever, and they pick up sort of bigger traditionally published books rather than indie books that were sent to them directly from the author or anything. He seemed to think that because if a writer is an indie writer, if they're not making a huge amount of money or anything from their books, it might cost them money to send a book over to someone in another country especially, and they feel like he sort of felt like they deserve more attention or more time or more spotlight put on them than say picking up another Stephen King book or James Herbert or whatever. I seemed quite annoyed about that and sort of, I don't know, he felt like people should always put review books before any other reading that they want to do. Like reviewers such as myself should always do the review books first. I think they did actually mention that they felt angry at seeing a reviewer who they had sent a book to posting about a different book, a bigger published book. And so I do sympathise with writers. I know that it is going to be a lot of disappointments when I actually publish something. I know that, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I can only imagine that like you can send books out to 50 reviewers and you might still only get like 20 reviews, and you're not going to get them instantly. It's going to take time, and I feel like there isn't really much you can do about that because you're asking them to spend their time reading your book. They're doing it for free. They're not getting paid to do that. They're not getting paid if they have a booktube channel or an Instagram. They're not getting paid for the time that they spend writing out the reviews, that they spend making the videos, that they spend setting up like book photography and stuff. They're not getting paid for any of that. They're spending their own free time doing that. So it will be disappointing, and I'm not gonna pretend that I'm gonna be totally fine with everything whenever I get published. Things are gonna get annoying, like my first 1-star review or my first negative review or whatever, or people not getting what I've written. But I just think, like, I don't know, like, writers don't know what a reviewer is doing in their life. Like, so there's outside of the book thing, so it could be family, it could be health, physical, mental health, it could be just anything. People fall in and out of reading slumps. There's times when you just physically cannot pick up another book, like you just can't do it. There's times when there's a book you're really excited about and it just came out, or a book that you've been meaning to read for a long time and you just feel like you really want to read it right now, and that's what you want to do. And while I do feel two things that have happened recently, or two sort of emails that I've gotten recently, while nowhere near in that realm, have just kind of irked me a little bit. So first, I got an email not so long ago from someone who I said I'd review their book, and I was like, yeah, I can't tell you exactly when I'll review it, but I will get around to it soon enough. And I got sent just sort of, it looked like a generic email that they'd sent to all reviewers, just saying, I look forward to your review next week. And I was like, okay, that's not meant for me, because I didn't say I was going to review it next week, and I have 5 other books to read before that. And then I actually got a message on Goodreads as well, asking if I wanted a free copy of the book, because they didn't realise that they'd already asked me to read it. So maybe just keep it like track of who you've sent the book to, so that you're not doing that kind of thing. But then they emailed me again personally and was like, hey, just wondering, when are you going to post a review for the book? And they were polite emails. They kept saying they weren't putting pressure on me. There's like no pressure, no rush. But it still feels like it. If you're emailing within a week or 2 weeks of sending someone a book and saying, hey, have you read it yet? When are you going to review it? Like, that feels like pressure. That feels like you're just poking me, and it is irritating. It's like, I have other books that I have to read. Like, there were like 8 other people before you that I said I would read their books. But then that makes me think, should I just not be saying yes to everyone? Should I like limit myself to like saying, only having like 4 on my review schedule before I can take another one, and I have to read one to add one? I don't know, like I get through them so quickly that like I just feel it's unnecessary at the minute anyway, with how quickly I'm reading, to say no to someone, because I know I'll be able to read it in like a week and a half or 2 weeks. So I don't know. And another email I got was from another person, and both of these, like, neither of them were aggressive, neither of them were like, they didn't sound annoyed or anything like that. They were just polite inquiries of like, hey, just wondering. From another writer, I got another 2 emails in different weeks saying, hey, just wondering, have you got around to it yet? Hey, just another inquiry as to whether you've read it yet. Like, it's just irksome. It bothered me. Not enough to be like, fuck this person, I'm not reading their book, but just enough for me to be like, dude, it's 2020, we're in the middle of the pandemic, it's coming up to Christmas, and I have so many things that I do other than just this. But that's just something that annoyed me. But then I was like thinking, is there a time when you can like ask a reviewer, you know, if you've sent a book to a reviewer, you know, like 2 months in or something, if you still haven't seen anything from them, is it okay then to ask whether they've read it? The only reason I would leave a book for like 2 months is if I was in like a depressive episode or something, if I was in a reading slump and I just couldn't do it, I couldn't bring myself to do it, like get the energy to do it, and like there's no way for a writer to know that, so it's, you know, it wouldn't be insensitive coming from them to ask about it then, but it would not make me feel great as well, because I'd feel like I was letting them down. So for me personally, I don't think I would email people unless like they had specifically said, I will review this for you on a particular date. But I don't know, I just don't know. I don't know what the rules are, and I wish there were clearer guidelines on what I should do as a reviewer and a writer. Like obviously writers don't know how many books I've already said yes to, but they also don't know how quickly someone reads. If you're sending like a 300-400 page novel, it's unrealistic to expect them, even if they have no other books that they're reviewing at the minute, it's unrealistic to expect them to have read it in like 2 or 3 weeks. It can take like a month and a half to do that sometimes. And you don't want them to be rushing through your work. You want them to sit with it and digest it and actually like consider it as a book, a piece of writing. So I guess like one of the questions I have is just like, whether you're a reviewer or a writer, if a reviewer gets sent a book and they say that they will review it, first of all, is there an obligation there? Obviously there's sort of a social contract there, like you said, you do something, so it would be nice if you did it, but like, do you have to? Like I put the obligation on myself that I will read all of the review books that I get, but like, is it an actual contract, and is there a particular time frame that you would expect someone to read the book? If they haven't specifically given a date, would you expect them to have a review for that book in a particular time frame? And is it appropriate to expect a time frame, or is it appropriate to quite inquire as to whether they've read it or not? These are just questions I'm throwing out there for anyone to answer if you have an answer. And like I do really try and think of it from a writer's perspective, because I will hopefully be doing that at some point. And I get the frustration, and I get like it is so hard to get anyone to read your work. Like especially before it's published, but even when it's published, I'm sure it's so hard to just get it out there, especially if you're indie published. But I feel like some writers at least feel like reviewers have like this hold over them, like they have this power in their hands that like if you ask a big reviewer to review your book, even just seeing it on their page, on their booktube channel or bookstagram or something, someone might buy it just because they've seen, like one of their followers might buy it just because they have mentioned it. And if that reviewer instead decides to post up a picture that they're rereading The Shining by Stephen King, they feel like that's like taking away from them, and it's that reviewers have like an obligation to always be helping new writers or indie writers or whatever. I don't know. Now another thing that I wanted to discuss, which is just, it's sort of related to reviews, but it's more on the author side of things. Again, I'm not going to be mentioning any names, but I have been, before this year, with all the different events that I go to, and the book events and the book launches and the classes and seminars and all of these different things, I'm around loads of different types of writers, and on numerous occasions the idea of like reviews and stuff has come up, and a few writers have mentioned that if they were to get anything less than a 5-star review from another writer, they would consider that like a personal insult. And when I first heard that, I almost laughed, because I thought maybe it was a joke, and then other people around sort of agreed with them, and I was like, oh, that's not a joke. Oh no. Because I consider anything from like 3, 4, and 5 stars, I consider that to be positive. There's something good about it. That's great. If another writer were to give me a 3 stars, I'd be like, cool, they didn't hate it and throw it in the freaking bin. But to be like, and we all know that like Amazon reviews in particular, they really do affect who sees your book and how many people see your book. And I know there's absolute bullshit reviews out there where people are like, 1 star, didn't actually read this. Like, what the hell? Like, why would you do that? I knew someone who got 1 star on a book that they published because the person said, I love this book, but the next one in the series isn't out yet. So 1 star. What? That's insane. So like, there are absolute like bullshit artists out there with reviews, but now I'm kind of like, so any of the people who've said this, I'm obviously like, if I find out that someone I know has a book, I will buy it just to support them. And if it's anything that I might like, I'll definitely read it and I'll review it and I'll talk about it wherever. But now, for anyone who thinks that way, I'm like, well, I can't read your book because I can't lie. I just can't. It's not, I would just disintegrate if I had to like lie like that to someone and say, yeah, it was great, when I really didn't like it or something. But it's just weird. Like, their reasoning for wanting the 5-star reviews is because another writer will know how difficult it is to write a book and how much time and energy, how many hours upon hours and edits and redrafts and paying editors and going to classes and learning your craft and everything that it takes to actually produce a book at the end. And I absolutely agree with that. It does do that, but the star review, like, the reviews are for other readers, and it's not like, you want to support other people, you want to support other writers, but I'm not going to give every single book a 5-star review just because I know the writer spent a long time on it. Like, everyone spends a long time and a lot of energy on books, but I'm not going to give a 5-star review to everyone. And so now I kind of feel like when I publish a book, I'm not going to be able to trust any kind of reviews from any other writers. Because are they just doing it because they don't want to hurt my feelings or something? Am I only getting a 5-star because of that? Like, above all, I absolutely would want people to be honest about it. And part of it is, it's mainly because reviews are for readers. There is an Irish comedian and artist guy called Blind Boy, Blind Boy Book Club. He wears a bag on his head. But he has a podcast, and he also has 2 books now of short stories out, and I really liked his first one. Haven't read the second one yet. But when his first book came out, he started a podcast to kind of promote it, but it's become its own thing now. And he was talking about reviews and how you really have to separate yourself from all reviews, even good ones. You can't let your ego rely on good reviews, and you can't let bad reviews like take you down, because your art is going to suffer for it. You have to write and do it to the best of your ability, and do it for yourself first of all, and then you put it out there, and then whatever other people say about it, they say about it. Because otherwise you'll just be taking these bad reviews and saying, oh, well, people don't like this, so I better change this, or maybe I'm not good enough, so I'm not going to write anything anymore, which is just ridiculous. Or you're going to take the 5-star reviews and you're going to think, well, I'm great, I'm amazing, I can do no wrong, I don't need an editor anymore, I'm like, everything I do is great. So, and that's just going to create bad art. So you really have to separate yourself from the critiques of your art, which is hard. He admits that himself, but it's the best thing you can do for your mental health and for your own art. And I don't know, just the whole, yeah. So like that, I've a feeling that's not a large subsection of writers, but I've definitely heard traditionally published and indie published people saying it, that they would like, they kind of expect certain things from other writers, which I just don't think is right. And then, I don't know, there's a lot of pressure on reviewing books sometimes, if you think about it, and I really try not to think about it, because you know, you can be contributing to a book not being put out there as much. You know, if you give it about a lower star rating on Amazon or whatever, you could be lowering it in the rankings, and you're not doing it personally for the writer. You're not doing it to be mean. You're just honestly reviewing a book. That's the thing. So I'm gonna stop rambling now. These are all just things that have literally been rattling around my head for months, and I could never really articulate them, and I don't think I articulated them here either. But like, if you're a reader or a reviewer or a writer yourself, or any combination of all three, what do you think? Do you think that reviewers have certain obligations to writers who send them their work? If you do, what do you think those obligations are? Do you think there should be time constraints? Do you think there should be that reviewers should prioritize certain books over other books? Do you think that I should only have a certain number of books in my review schedule at a time? Is that something I should look into doing? If you're a writer or whatever, do you expect certain reviews from certain people? Do you think that, I mean, obviously it would, like, if you know someone and they know how hard you worked and you respect their opinion, and they give you like a 3-star review or 2.5-star review, you might be like, oh, I kind of wish I got a better review than that. But you can't like expect, can you expect it? Do you think you should expect it? Do you personally review books even just slightly better because you know that the person worked hard on it, or you know that the person would feel bad? Do you feel like you can't review certain books, or you can't give star ratings or whatever, because if you did it honestly, the person wouldn't be happy with you, or that they have some sort of expectation from you? I don't know. I'm just happy to get all of this out of my head and out of my mouth, and just hopefully my brain can stop thinking about all this. So for the future, when I publish something, be absolutely brutally honest. And another thing, like, putting stuff out there is hard, and it can hurt when people give bad reviews. I absolutely encourage and whatever writers personally, like with their own friends or whatever, if they get a 1-star review, if they get a terrible review, you can sit with your partner and just be like, they don't know what they're talking about, they're idiots, they don't understand it, they don't get me. Like, fine. Obviously do not go after reviewers on any kind of social media or even personally. Like, it's just, they told the truth, they told how they felt about the book, how they thought about it. But I totally get, like, I'm gonna be complaining about people to my friends and whatnot. I shall be having a few drinks, and I'm sure a few cries when my stuff comes out and I start getting bad reviews. But like, it happens, and everyone has to do it, and you have to remind yourself that it's not you personally, that it can't possibly be about you personally, because they don't know you personally, and it's just about the work separated from you. We put a lot of ourselves into our work, but no one else is going to be able to make those connections, that if they say a certain thing about a particular part, it was based on your real life experience or something. They're not going to be able to know that, and we need to sort of cut the emotional apron strings, if that makes any sense, which it doesn't. But I've been talking for too long, and I'm gonna go finish my drink and try and heat myself up. So if you have any opinions, anything to say, any guidance or any information you want to give about anything I've said, please do so down below. I'm not going to argue with anyone. If you completely disagree with anything I've said, you can absolutely say it, but just try and not be angry about it, please, because I'm not gonna argue with anyone over the internet. Thank you so much for trolling through my mind mess with me on this subject. If you like what I'm doing here, you can like and subscribe down below. I would really appreciate it. I really appreciate everyone who's subscribed so far, and I will be back with some book reviews of all the books that I have read recently, and also some cool tag videos as well. And also some writing videos that I hope people enjoy. So I shall see you in the next video.